A new start may have been the beginning of the end when the Sharp family relocated to the rural Sierra Nevadas. What happened 43 years ago remains shrouded in mystery to this very day, though the answer may be as clear as crystal. Okay, let's go. Today's case covers the murders of 3 family members and a friend who all happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Don't ever be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I'm going to tell a little secret. Anytime anything bad happens, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah. So
Story checks out.
no one has any control over that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Glenna Susan Sharp, John Sharp, Tina Sharp, and John's friend Dana Wingate would all perish between the 11th and the 12th of April 1981 in Keddie, California.
I've never heard of Keddie.
Keddie, Keddie.
Keddie.
Glenna, who went by Sue, which I prefer because it's like Glenn with an extra N and an A.
In my mind, I'm like, Glenna! I'm so bogan.
She was 36 and she was the mother of 5 children. John, who was 15, Shayla, we in Australia would say Sheila, which also is just slang for a woman.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's Shayla or Sheila. Anyway, she was 14, Tina, who was 12, Rick, who was 10, and Greg, who was aged 5. So Glenna would end up moving to Connecticut and marrying John Sharp, but that would not last forever. So after the two separated, Glenn moved with her children to Northern California, and they rented like this small trailer that her brother Don used to live in, and that was at the Claremont Trailer Village in Quincy.
Oh, that's sad though. 5 people in a trailer.
6 people in a trailer.
6 people in a trailer, unless it's like a big.
I don't think it was a double wide, like it wasn't a big trailer. Anyway, this was just going to be temporary, so obviously no one really plans to do that unless they really enjoy like trailer living. Some people really enjoy it. It's more affordable, whatever. So they do. But by the next fall, they end up moving again and they settle in rural Sierra Nevada in a railroad town called Keddie. Now, quick history lesson. Super quick, actually. So railroad town. You may know what that is. You may not. For the listeners out there that don't, for example, people outside of like America, it's basically like a settlement that's built near an existing railway station or junction. And it's really just that simple. Not only would it have given you access to travel quite close where you lived, but it also was a really good stream of revenue because you'd have people that pass through that would want to stop and they'd want somewhere to stay or they'd want somewhere to drink or eat or whatever. So it worked out for everyone. You're on something different today.
No, I was like, I know what that is because of Red Dead Redemption.
Oh,
I was like, yeah, I know what a settle is.
Education through gaming, and they said it couldn't happen, and it did.
Sorry, that was my weird smile. I'm like thinking about Red Dead.
I know what it means. So they moved to 28 Keddie Resort Road, which was much larger than the trailer that they had been living in, so that would have been good. And it would have been like a welcome change, I guess. The house had previously been occupied by the county sheriff, Sylvester Douglas Thomas, and was only available after he left. So I think they're waiting for a house to be freed up.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go to more than one room.
Yeah. I don't know how many rooms this place had.
Yeah.
But it was just bigger than a trailer, so that must have been a room. So you may have done the maths by now. How many children did Sue have versus how many people I said died? You can't remember.
That's why I'm like, this is a trap. It's a trap.
It wasn't a trap.
It was her. There was a friend.
Yeah.
And then 3. It was 3 family members.
3 family members.
And a friend, so 4.
And how many family members would there have been in total?
You don't remember, do you? 5. 6.
5 children, 1 mum.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting there's 5 kids because I'm like, what? That's a lot. At 36, that's a lot. 6.
Spot on. But before we get into that, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and be sure to follow us everywhere we upload our episodes. And don't forget to do the social media things too, where you get to see a sneak peek of the episode before it airs. So let's start with what we know about the family's movements. And I'm not talking about toilet movements.
Yeah.
On the 11th of April, 1981. From what we know, Sue drove to the Meeks family home, and they were like friends of the family, and they went there to pick up Rick, who had baseball tryouts earlier that day at Ganser Field in Quincy. So I think everyone that was kind of in the area, because it was quite rural, would have known each other and just helped each other out, which was kind of nice. Well, why are you grinning?
Never mind. Continue.
On their way back, they ended up bumping into John and Dana, who were trying to hitchhike somewhere like 6 miles out of town. I don't know what they were looking at doing there, but they wanted to get there. And I'm pretty sure that Sue was like, I'll drive ya.
Yeah, don't hitchhike in the 80s. Come on.
Yeah. Again, we've said it before, but if you didn't learn from the crap that happened in the 70s, Jeepers creepers. Anyway, they end up staying out there for about 2 and a little bit hours. And then they decide to come home. So they hitchhike home. They got there safely. And the plan was, I believe, to just spend some time with mutual friends. This can be corroborated because they were spotted in the downtown area around this time by witnesses. So they were seen to be there. I believe that Sheila, I'm going to refer to her as Sheila, we're Australian, that's what we do, had a friend who lived next door in number 27, or at least they were close with the family or something like that, but it was the Seabolt family. So she had actually planned to stay with them that evening. I think they're close, but also they had a TV, and I don't think the Sharp family had a TV in their house.
Oh, bless.
Because Tina spent like most of the evening over there watching TV. She didn't come home till like 9:30.
Okay.
So she was over there watching telly, whatever. So yeah, so she would end up leaving there, and she would go home to join her mum, Sue, Rick, Greg, and his friend Justin Smart, who was also staying over. So it's just a big family affair that night, which is kind of cute. And it kind of sounds like a bit of an eventful day too. Everyone's moving around and doing their own thing. It sounded kind of like a really nice lifestyle. Only when Sheila returned home at 8 a.m. the next morning, it would be anything but that.
Oh no.
The bodies of Sue, John, and Dana were discovered in the living room, bound by medical tape and electrical cords. Strangely, Rick, Greg, and Justin were found in the room adjacent to the living room, completely unharmed and asleep.
What?
The 3 little ones.
Well, that's good, but also...
Good but weird.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, okay.
So Sheila does, I think, what anyone else would have done, is she freaked out and she ran back to the Seabolt's home.
Yeah.
And told them what had happened, because, hello, anyone would. And then Jamie Seabolt hurried back across the house to retrieve the 3 boys. And I don't know if Jamie was a male or a female. It really didn't say if it was the dad or the brother or whatever of the Seabolts. I just know that they went across and they basically went around to the boys' bedroom windows and got them out of the house through the window. But Jamie would later admit that they did actually gain entry to the house through the back door to check on the bodies that were there to see whether or not they were alive.
Oh.
Which I think is kind of okay.
Yeah.
Only what he may have potentially done is contaminate evidence and just the crime scene in general. So, like, while you'd want to make sure that someone's okay, or at least check for vital signs.
Yeah, that's a tough...
You've now potentially put your DNA in the mix too.
Yeah.
So that's like...
But it's like, what if you didn't do anything and you literally could have saved their life if they're still hanging on?
Or what if you called the cops and you asked them,
Yeah.
should I go in there and check? Maybe I can save one of them. And if the cop then says, yeah, go in, then you can't really be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
I don't know what came of that anyway, to be honest. So Sue, the mum, she was found nude from the waist down. She had a blue bandana and her own underwear inside her mouth, and it appeared like she had been gagged by them because there was also electrical tape around as well, which I think was to keep it in there. She had stab wounds to her chest, along with a horizontal stab wound to her throat, and the blow to her neck had been so vicious with so much force that it passed through her larynx, and it ended up nicking her spine.
Far out.
So they kind of knew what they wanted to do. They also found an indentation on the side of her head, which they said matched the butt of a gun. And they're able to specifically say that it matched the butt of a Daisy 880 Powerline BB pellet rifle. So
they've literally grabbed a rifle and just gone...
And gone, pa-donk.
Oh.
But I don't know if that was to knock her out so she didn't fight and then they did the other things. There was no mention, at least that I could see, that she had been R-worded. I didn't see reference to that.
Yeah.
I'm glad, I wouldn't want to, but also why would you take her underwear off? That seems very specific. Both John and Dana suffered blunt force trauma to their heads caused by one or more hammer.
Ugh.
So they had been hammered in the heads. John's throat had also been slashed at, along with multiple head injuries. On top of the bludgeoning damage to Dana's head, there are also signs of manual strangulation. So it looks like someone used their hands to kill him. The autopsies concluded that the cause of death for Sue and John had both been by knife wound and blunt force trauma, and Dana's obviously being death by asphyxiation because he was manually strangled. But the math ain't mathing. There's one person missing. Where's Tina? Tina was nowhere to be found.
Where is Tina?
She had, I suppose, for all intents and purposes, vanished.
Okay.
But there'll be more on that later.
All right.
So while the Seabolt's house was their neighbor, none of them heard anything that went on that evening, which is also a little bit strange because someone at house number 16 apparently woke up between 1 and 2 o'clock, so around, I think they said around 1:30, with the sound of muffled screaming. So if they could hear that and they were down the way, but then also the boys next door, like in the room next door, sleeping sound.
It's very strange, but I'm also like, some people do sleep through a lot sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah, but that's odd. Especially such a brutal attack to not hear anything.
Oh, yeah. Did they call it in?
Excuse me?
Did they call it in?
Excuse me?
The people who woke up at 1:30 in the morning to muffled screaming, did they call it in? No, they did not. And this, from the cases that we cover, seems to happen so often. But on that, the other night, my roommate and I were upstairs and we were talking about something. I just can't remember what it was. And we heard someone like yelling so angrily that it literally sounded like it was inside downstairs in the like living room area. So I'm not sure if he felt the same way I did, but I was like, I think someone's in the house. Like, that's nuts. Living with a straight guy is giving me courage. So we ran straight down there. No one's there. All the doors are locked. Everything's fine. He goes back upstairs and goes onto his little balcony. Well, I guess it's quite a big balcony. You can see into like everyone's yards. Out the back. No one else has a balcony like that. So he's got the pervy balcony, which is great for him. Anyway, he was able to see movement in one of the houses that looked like aggressive between like a male toward a female.
Oh, gosh.
And do you know what that pure, beautiful man did? He called the police and reported a domestic violence situation.
Oh, good.
Who then ended up coming and then giving the other guy marching orders.
Awesome.
But that's what I mean. Like, I know that people are so scared of being Karens or being whatever. But if you see something that genuinely needs your attention, maybe someone really needs help, you do something.
Yeah.
You don't have to physically get involved and put yourself in danger too, but you can call 000. Like,
yeah. And I'm sure you'd be able to tell them, oh, I want to be anonymous, in the sense of, you know, when they go to the other people.
They would never tell them, oh, we heard that person at number blah were the ones who actually called this in.
Oh, good man. That's scary.
An investigation starts like duh, and everyone from the area gets questioned. 2 people stand out as people of interest, aka suspects.
Yay.
In no particular order, Martin Smart, Justin's stepdad. Justin Smart was the boy who was staying in the room with the kids the night that it happened.
Yeah.
What made them think that was that Martin had a wife, right? Her name was Marilyn. And he was like super abusive to her, like physically he would beat her. And they both became friends with Sue. I think they're at like a typing class. And Sue ended up finding out that Marilyn was getting beaten. So she started saying, you need to leave him because being there is not safe.
Yeah.
And the word on the street, the theory, is that somehow got back to him. She filed for divorce, and then he went and he kind of got his revenge on her for ruining his family.
That makes sense if he's already abusive and aggressive. Okay.
And when I say ruining, there's quotation marks there. It's like, I don't think that she ruined the family. He ruined it by his behavior.
Yeah.
But when you are abusive and that kind of stuff, a lot of the times you're blind to your own bullshit.
You can't argue with it.
It's really, yeah.
Can't reason with it.
Yep, and he was a violent piece of shit, but it's everyone else's fault. Anyway, the other suspect was John Bo Bede, who went by Bo, who was also staying with Martin. Because, spoiler alert, they're not sure if it was 1 or 2 people that committed these crimes. What they actually think is that it was 2 people. So, I mean, these are the 2 suspects. Well,
I was going to say, when you said the crime, I was like, that sounds like more than 1 person.
Well, I mean, they've taken out, 3 people, right?
And that would be...
Well, 4 people.
Yeah, strenuous activity. That's a really bad way to put it, but I mean, like, adrenaline and how, yeah, okay, yeah.
But anyway, so Bo was staying with Martin because he suffered with PTSD, and I don't think he had anywhere else to stay, and he was friends with him, so he just stayed with him there. He had a bit of a crush on Sue. He quite fancied her, and they hadn't known each other very long, but apparently he had already tried it on with her, and she turned him down twice.
Oh, no.
She was like, I'm not interested, Bo.
No, thank you.
Yep. And what kind of makes it like a little bit worse and him look maybe even more sus is that he had ties to the mob back in Chicago. So he kind of knew some shady characters. Anyway, he said that him and Martin were at a bar between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. A 30-minute bar stint, which doesn't sound right. He would eventually change his story and say, oh, we're actually there till 12.
Yeah, no man is just popping into the bar.
But also 2 extra hours? You would know if you were there until midnight.
Yeah.
Like, that already just seems sus to me. Anyway, during the investigation, apparently there was evidence discovered that suggested that Sue and Martin had been having an affair behind Marilyn's back.
Ooh.
Which could also be why she was asking Marilyn to leave him.
Ooh.
Whether that's confirmed or not, I don't know, but apparently there was evidence that suggested that's what was happening.
Ooh.
Yikes. Get better. Like, if he is abusive, why would you choose him? Especially because Sue had experience of being with an abusive person that she previously left. So why would she walk straight back into that other than, like, it's kind of like when you are interested in the bad guy or the naughty boy because that's all you know. So maybe that's all she knew and it was kind of like a morbid comfort.
Sometimes it's hard to get out of the cycle.
Well, I guess because you kind of know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they'll change me. They'll never hit me. Oh, he did it once. He'll never do it again.
I'll change him.
Ladies, you can't change a piece of shit. And what kind of makes it worse, the whole Martin being the suspect, is near the very beginning of the case, he proffered some information, volunteered some information, if you will, that the police didn't ask for, and it didn't make sense that he would be given this information. He told them that recently someone stole a hammer from his garage around the time of the murder. He doesn't know who or why, but his hammer is missing. He gave a description of what the hammer looked like and everything. He didn't know what had happened, but he thought it was important that they know.
Yep. So, yep.
Funny enough, weapons hadn't been disclosed in any articles yet.
I was just about to ask that. I was like,
So no one knew, right?
Yeah, that's odd. It's like someone's been murdered. Oh, I've got a tool missing. How'd you know it was a hammer?
That's right.
That doesn't look good.
It doesn't, especially because in 2016, they found a hammer matching that very description that he lost, found with a metal detector in a local pond nearby. Rotro Martin.
Le Martin, what you're doing, Martin?
Yeah, Zutolo.
Zutolo?
Very odd. 3 young boys were obviously questioned because they were home at the time. Did you hear anything? Did you see anything? Do you know anything, maybe? And obviously they were like, oh no, we didn't hear anything. In fact, they all said that they didn't hear anything and that they were asleep. Only a little bit later, Justin came forward. Justin Smart. And he said that he had been having nightmares about that night and that he suggested, but he didn't confirm, that he may have actually witnessed the attack.
Okay.
Well, to get the information, what did they rely on? Something that people did a lot back in the 80s and the 90s.
Lie detector test. No. What? Stop looking at me like that.
I had, because your eyes lit up, I was like, she's going to get it.
What was the question again?
You were getting sleepy. Very sleepy.
What?
Hypnosis.
Oh, no, I said what was the question again? Because I forgot what the question was.
Oh my god.
Hypnosis.
Hypnosis.
That's interesting.
So he was hypnotized and gave an account of hearing noises and finding Sue in the living room with 2 men fighting with them. And John and Dana allegedly came out to help her fight the men off. And I think if they hadn't, then they wouldn't have been murdered, because I think the other 3 boys didn't do anything. Like, the guys didn't go there to kill everyone. But if now there are 2 witnesses and you have seen me,
Yeah, far out.
it's probably going to be collateral damage. Yucky. A sketch would eventually be released of what he believed they looked like, and both of them were wearing glasses. They kind of look like sunglasses, but this was at nighttime, so it must have been normal seeing eyeglasses. The sketch is not great, but it was also given by kids, so it's kind of like, you never really know. Anyway, so after Martin's marriage fell apart, he would move to Reno, and because he was struggling with the separation of him and his wife, he wanted to go see a counselor. Normally I say, good job, good, you should have done that beforehand to maybe stop being a violent piece of shit, but he went to see one anyway. And the reason I mention this is because it's important, because later in 1981, that counselor comes forward to say that he had confessed to killing both Sue and Tina, the 12-year-old girl, and he claimed that it was revenge for her talking Marilyn into leaving him, but he said, I did not touch the boys.
Okay.
I had nothing to do with that. So there would have been two people then if he said, well, I killed the girls, but I did not kill the boys. But also, why'd you kill little Tina? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the Department of Justice, however, said, no, he didn't kill anyone. That's hearsay. This is dismissed.
A counselor.
A counselor told the information, but because it wasn't from the person, it is considered hearsay. Any out-of-court statement is considered hearsay.
But a counselor is legally obligated to report what the heck?
A counselor is legally obligated to report it. However, they have to consider that what is being told is not the truth. Because you can tell anyone anything. It doesn't make it factual without there being facts. And at this point, there were no facts that actually linked them. It was all circumstantial.
But they suspected him.
He was a suspect, but they couldn't prove it.
You know what I mean? Just to blow that off so quickly to a
I
suspect.
get it. But then also they could be thinking that maybe he feels guilty for the breakdown of the marriage, so he's taking responsibility for something that he may not have done. You're giving me a look, but I'm just...
Martin.
I'm just telling ya that the Department of Justice said...
Yeah, right. Interesting.
They said, I don't think so, girlfriend.
Not today.
And on April 22nd, 1984, so now we're fast forwarded 3 years, a man was out collecting bottle caps in Feather Falls in Butte County. I don't know if it's Butte County or Butt County, but Butt County sounded inappropriate.
But
It's Butte, so I'm saying Butte County. On April 22nd, 1984, it's been about 3 years since the murders happened. A man was out collecting bottle caps in Feather Falls, Butte County, and I believe that's the next county over to the southwest, because there's counties all around. I don't understand how counties...
I was literally about to say, I don't understand how counties work. Are they like suburbs? Or like jurisdiction?
Oh, no,
you know what I mean?
Suburb, yeah, I think it's a region. Yeah, it's weird. Actually, anyone from America, if you could explain that in a way that makes sense to us, that would be great, because we don't have that here. So it's kind of like they will have towns, and they will have suburbs, and they will have counties. Like, I don't, and states, and I don't know.
I know it's a thing because I watch a lot of like cop pulling over things in America. Like, he's got a warrant out in this county, and I'm like, oh shit, as you were.
When he found something a little bit more than just a bottle cap, he found a partial human skull and a mandible bone. And initially they thought it belonged to a Native American person, but they then received an anonymous phone call. Caller.
Hello, I was watching the news and they were talking about a skull they found in the Feather Falls and they asked for any help.
Dispatcher.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Caller.
And I was just wondering if they thought of the murder up in Keddie, up in Plumas County a couple years back where a 12-year-old girl was never found.
It's rather specific. Pacific.
That's so specific.
Pacific.
But that's all I have for the dialogue of the call, so I don't know what happened after that. So, obviously, the caller suggested that the remains belonged to Tina Sharp, the 12-year-old who went missing the night of the murder. And DNA analysis, which would happen much later because it wasn't available at the time, would actually match the DNA to Tina Sharp. So they did find her in the end.
Oh.
Obviously, due to like the state of the remains and how long they'd been there for, they could not find cause of death. So they don't know. She could have been strangled too, asphyxiated. Anything could have happened. Yeah. I believe if she were attacked like with a hammer or a knife, there may have been indications of that on her bones. They didn't mention it, so I don't know if that is something that actually happened. But around the crime scene, they also located a blue nylon jacket, Levi's jeans, and empty medical tape, which I believe matched what Sue and that were tied up with as well. So they could kind of piece that part together. The call, however, was never admitted into evidence. In fact, it wasn't until 2013 that they found a recorded tape, which was that tape, in a sealed envelope at the bottom of an evidence bag. That sounds a little bit sus to me. Do you think?
I have to go now. Sus or stupidity?
Suspidity. Suspicities.
Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
Oh,
Yeah.
what?
That's right. Bo died in 1988 and Martin in 2000, but in 2018, DNA from a piece of the medical tape was linked to a living unidentified relative, but for which one, I don't know because they didn't release that information.
You shut your mouth.
So it could have been for either Special Investigator Mike Gamberg and former Plumas County Sheriff Greg Hagwood. Well, they had reopened that case back in 2013, which is when they found that sort of stuff, and they would actually state that that case was solvable during the initial investigation, but both the DOJ, Department of Justice, and local deputies made crucial mistakes with the evidence not being lodged, tampering with the crime scene, and leads that weren't properly investigated. And they also claimed to know who was actually involved during and kind of like potentially after as well, but they also stayed mum on that too. So apparently they know who did it according to them, and they even put like there was a threat they put out in the paper or whatever, we know who you are, blah, but nothing happened with that.
Good job.
Yeah, and no charges have ever been made. And as much as it really does feel like kind of an open shut case, we don't know for certain who committed these despicable acts in 1981. But one thing I took away from this case is that I'm certain that the police or state troopers or whoever it is, whatever you want to call them, had, if not something to do with it, at least they participated in covering some stuff up at the very least. At the very, very least. And because of that, and because no charges have ever been laid, today's case, I guess, does still remain open and a cold one.
That's wild.
And with that, it brings us to the end of today's episode too.
I don't like that. Like, you done messed up the case.
Oh, yeah.
Own up to it.
Oh, yeah.
Fix it. Like, I'm sorry if you're going to drag names through blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. You didn't do your job properly. Fix it. Don't be ashamed and hide it. What the heck? It was Martin. Martin and who?
Bo. I reckon it was absolutely Martin and Bo. I still don't understand the derobing. I understand, obviously, the practice of people trying to humiliate. I understand people doing that. I don't understand the act of it, but I understand that that's a thing. But I genuinely don't understand why in that situation, unless what happened was our word was about to happen, and that's when the boys came out and kind of spoiled that plan.
Yeah, because
again,
she's
I don't
struggling.
have signs of it.
Yeah.
They at least didn't mention that there were signs of that.
That's wild. But also, what happened to poor Tina? Why was she found far away? Like, was she there alive and then killed there?
Well,
or was
I
she
don't
already
know.
dead and then dumped? Like,
apparently, she was found about 100 miles away, when the next county is where she was found.
to me, that's like she must have been alive. Because why would you take the body and dump it when you've already got bodies laying there?
Well, I mean, I guess the other thing is we don't know if she would have been assaulted in a S-word way. We don't know if she was tortured. We don't know. I mean, what we do know is they found like a skull fragment, like a part of her skull in her mandible, but they may have ended up finding more, but I'm not aware of that.
That's messed up.
So it's pretty sad.
Fix it.
Fix it?
Solve it.
Oh.
Close it. Fix it. Do your job.
The last updates, I believe, were back in 2016, which is when they did that DNA sample thing. But nothing else has happened since then. That I know of, anyway.
Hopefully we hear some more later on. Maybe we'll do a little update.
That's right. And listeners out there, if you may know more information about that, because you may have been looking into it longer than I have, then please drop us a line and let us know. But without further ado,
Goodbye.
see you later.
Alligator.
Don't forget your toilet paper.
Yeah.
Remember that time that we played Red Dead together online?
Oh my god, yeah.
And we went to the bank, and then I shot that guy and ran away, and then they kept coming after us.
And then you said, let's lasso him and drag him around town, because that's what I like doing.
Yeah.
You look like I've just outed you. You're
He
like,
was lynched, is what
you got
happened.
lynched.
He got lynched.
We need to play that again.
We do. And there
Sorry,
was
mate.
one that I dragged into the water.
To
and
see
let
what
him
would
drown.
happen.
He drowned. It's a game, guys. It's not real.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Too much on. That's too much. Good for you. That's a nice time.
Well, she did now, ain't she? So.
Oh. She don't get to it. No. You're like... Your face. Just makes me anxious. I was like, that's just too much. There's too many people over.
Sit down, Sue. Sit down. Oh, last night I had up time. Oh, what was that? Are you cold? Do you want me to turn it off?
No, but it's nice. But it's nice, isn't it? Yes, no, sorry.
Oh, I think it's too cold for her. She's going to hide.
Nice.
Quite like butter chicken. It
Butter
is the
chicken
white
is
person's curry. Lamb korma is probably my favorite.
Ew. Never tried lamb, but ew.
Okay, enough from you.